Hello there, everyone. Temperatures are starting to drop. The leaves are doing just the same. It is kind of that cool, dark, mysterious time of the year. It's fall, and I'm Bill Sherck, the man about the woods, and this is the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. And we have a very special episode today. This is one of my favorite times of year because when I was a little kid, I looked forward to trick-or-treating on Halloween and all the spookiness that would come with that event. And even now as an adult, I love hearing about all the tales that people cannot explain. And believe it or not, when we document for all our various television shows, we run into stories every once in a while and people with stories to tell. And today, one of my guests is that person, Eric Moen, a full-time jeweler and gem cutter, but he is also what you describe as a paranormal investigator. We'll get to Eric in just a second, but first, don't forget, the Minnesota Bound podcast is presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems. Hey, my family uses Connecticut. Yours should too. Our good friends at Star Bank, the bank we use at Minnesota Bound. Also, North Dakota. Plan all of your fall hunts in North Dakota at legendarynd.com. And our newest sponsor, our friends at the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. All right, now to get to the fun stuff. Eric, are you there today?
Hi there, Bill. Yes, I am. Good day, sir.
Oh, it is so good to catch up with you. You and I have not talked for a while. You are one of the most intriguing storytellers I have ever met. And you're a guy who will just scare the pants off people, too.
Well, I try to be as truthful and, let's just say, colorful as possible without bending the truth.
All right, so when you're not in the workshop working on fine jewelry, you and your wife, Amy, head out the door and do what?
We do a lot of exploring. We do a lot of what a lot of people would call ghost hunting. And I had a paranormal group a few years back, and Amy and I decided to just kind of do it on our own and continue on with that investigative process. And so I can incorporate that with my job. I like to go out west and hunt for jewels and gemstones, and along the way we'll stop in ghost towns and haunted hotels and so forth.
You and I first met at the St. James Hotel in Red Wing, Minnesota, reported to be one of the most haunted buildings in the States, and we had just a great night hanging out and looking around. Turns out that's where you two were married, correct?
Yes, just a month, I believe, before that show was aired. We got married in September. We were newlyweds, so it was really fun to go back to the hotel and do that with you.
And now the house you two share.
Interesting
That's got
place.
A story.
It's got a very big story. My great-great-grandfather built it in 1889. And my great-great-grandfather was a mover and shaker of South Minneapolis. As a matter of fact, he built a lot of the basements. And he had played a major role in the James J. Hill Stone Arch Bridge in downtown Minneapolis. He was one of the main contractors to help build that bridge. And it's been in the Moen family ever since. And my wife and I kind of inherited the house. And here we are. As a matter of fact, I mean, I'm not making this up. We talk about the veil becoming thin in October. We got back yesterday from our travels in Montana, and I just had finished cutting a gemstone in the basement. I come up, and all of a sudden I feel these eyes upon me, and I looked, and there was about a 6'2" guy just very briefly, momentarily staring at me. And it really kind of made me jump out of my skin. Even though I'm kind of used to this stuff, it never fails to scare the bejeebers out of me when I see these things. So that's kind of a little bit about our house. It's been haunted ever since I can remember.
All right, so who the heck was that?
It could have been an old relative of mine. I mean, height isn't a feature of my family, so I have no idea. To be honest, my brother is about the tallest of our siblings, and he's 6'1". So somewhere down the family tree, a large male could have been part of the Moen clan. But we've got a lot of strange occurrences. That's how I got involved with the paranormal research. Was my house is so haunted, and we've had things fly off of shelves. My mother, when she was alive, God bless her soul, we were on the kitchen table and the butter dish. It was 5 o'clock Friday afternoon, sunny day. Butter dish just decided to sail right off the table, and it's like she kind of became a believer at that point. It's like, what was that? Well, if you ask me, I can't explain how these things work. You know, we've got a lot of poltergeist activity. That's German for noisy ghost. And just a lot of things like to fly off of shelves just inadvertently. And when we started poking the bear, so to speak, in the basement, we had a lot of activity of light bulbs being unscrewed and thrown across the room. And I've got some audio recordings of all these things on YouTube too, which I won't go into right now, but I got a lot of it documented.
I chuckle a little bit, and I'm being facetious. A lot of that stuff happens in our house, but it's mainly because of a 9-year-old and 11-year-old who normally aren't getting along. But my sense is for people like you, until you've experienced something like this legitimately, I think the public kind of says, well,
He's
that's a
crazy.
that's a little flaky, right? But I'm guessing if you were to be standing there and that were to happen in front of you and you're a rational, normal person, you say, oh my goodness, what the heck just happened? And you started studying this stuff or going to search out these instances.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimately, how do you do that?
Well, number one, I've got a science background. I'm very skeptical, but I do have an open mind. And growing up in this home of paranormal events made me very curious as to what was doing these things. So I bought a bunch of equipment, and my science background, I invented a few devices which I feel would detect so forth ghosts and things like that. And I've been on a national TV show because of it. But I decided to just try to reach out and help people with their problems too. We did a lot of home investigations, and we've done a lot of major other investigations of like Fergus Falls Regional Treatment Center, where that was at one time the world's largest insane asylum in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. It was a Kirkbride architecturally built building. They tore a lot of that down, but I just started asking permission and, just being very honest and upfront with the landowners. We never would trespass or do anything like that. But just not coming across as a crazy lunatic or a fame seeker, I just legitimately would explain to them, we're curious. Maybe we can find out something. Maybe we can help you. But I'm no expert. I don't have all the answers.
So, what are some spots in Minnesota that you've visited that just are very curious, or just things happen that you just cannot explain?
Fergus Falls Regional Treatment Center, when it was fully intact, when we had investigated it 3 times, and there's like 7 miles of tunnels underneath that place. That was legitimately the scariest, if you want to call it scary, and it was at times. We've had iron doors slam in front of us. We've heard shrieking of people and down the hallways, and this is all legitimate things that my team experienced. And that was probably the most crazy place I've ever been to. I mean,
why? What happened? Or you must have seen something.
Well, 2 of my team members in the very front part of the house, of the asylum at the Kirkbride place in Fergus Falls, the very lobby area with the grand staircase going up. I wasn't there, but 2 of my team members physically saw a ghost walking right in between them. They saw a manifestation of a man walking in between them. And these are very two logical, down to earth people, and I trust them implicitly. We've had, like I said, we've had an iron door slam shut in front of us coming down the stairs. It wasn't a breeze, it wasn't a wind. The door was just too heavy to slam on its own. We have what is called EVP, electronic voice phenomena, where we record while we're investigating, and we may not hear it with our naked ear, but in real time. But after you play back the tape, you'll hear ghostly sounds. And we were in one of the areas where they had gurneys, and they had restraints on the gurneys. And in that very area that we were recording, we later replayed it, and we heard someone screaming on the bed, and you can hear the shackles of the bed being, contorted about. And that was one of the creepiest EVPs I've ever captured, and that was at Fergus Falls Regional Treatment Center.
Yeah, I was going to say if you happen to be listening today and you're near a cell phone or a computer, look up that Fergus Falls State Hospital. Holy cow, what a stark piece of architecture, and it just screams just this haunted sort of darkness that people
It's
have in
very
there.
intimidating just simply to look at, like you were saying. It's quite the Halloween destination. They won't allow you in there right now, but it's kind of cool to check out.
Funny story. I went to school, college over in Green Bay, and at the time there was a TB sanitarium. Is that what you call it?
Sanatorium. A sanitarium is for mental health. Sanatorium is for health.
Treatment. Yes, correct.
Yes.
And it was abandoned. And my freshman year, we went out on a fall night, and it was a very bizarre sort of walk around. And I'm pretty sure we did not have permission to be there. But, it's just very curious. And for you, do you always find something when you go to some place, or are there times where you walk around or sniff around and nothing happens and you decide to go home?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because we've had plenty of nights where really nothing remarkable or anything at all happened. And you can't set your watch to these phenomena. It's sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. Sometimes a place really isn't haunted, period. But we try to go to places that have history behind them that would support hauntings. One of our first investigations was the Pokegama Sanatorium up in Pine City. It's tore down right now. We got on a television program for that, a nationally aired television program, and that was a sanatorium where they treated tuberculosis patients. And in the early 1900s, that was a place where the rich would go. I mean, it was very posh in its day, very serene, tranquil. But we captured some really cool evidence, let's call it evidence, when we were there. And one of the very first instances when I was walking around there, when I gained permission, we were doing an initial walkthrough, I heard a man yelling at me from the end of the building, and there was no one there. And we got some really neat evidence there. We got some temperature changes and so forth, and we've heard some disembodied voices, and it was just a really neat place. But yeah, you're right. We've been to the Palmer House, which is famously haunted, and nothing really happened. I'm not saying it was a slow night that night. So it does happen, and we don't get evidence every time we go out.
All right. I want to get to probably the best story you've got. You have been out traveling around. You just got back from out west. We'll talk about some very strange things that occurred on that trip. But first, I want to thank again our sponsors of the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. Up first is Connecticut home water treatment systems. My family loves Connecticut water. Um, Everyone knows it. We live out in the country and we have that well water full of iron. And so we put in a Connecticut softening system and the K5 drinking system. We're using a lot less salt. The dishes are clean. The showers are great. And our Connecticut system, it just works. There aren't issues. So I would ask you to call our good friends at Connecticut and look forward to clean, safe water for your whole home. Also, our good friends at North Dakota. Visit North Dakota, where you can bag your limit this fall. And believe me, the roosters, the pheasants are calling. Right now, get this, the ringneck pheasant crowing count is up 15% this year. And the state estimates about 4 million acres of great, pristine waterfowl. You know, it's a place to go. And when you talk about hunting in the fall, North Dakota is the spot. So be sure to check them out for your fall hunts in North Dakota at legendarynd.com. Also, can't forget our good friends at Star Bank.
Hi there, Ron Shera here for Star Bank. If you're putting your money into mega banks down the street, who knows where that money's being used? It's time to make the switch. Bank locally. Keep your money local with a community bank that actually cares about you, your family, your business, and your goals. Let me give you some advice from personal experience. Check out the bank we use at Minnesota Bound. Try Minnesota's own Star Bank. You can find them online at starbank.net. When you call Star Bank, you actually hear a real living person answering the phone. Star Bank has 10 convenient locations around Minnesota to serve you and all the mobile banking products that you need to manage your money. From Maple Lake to Elbow Lake, Eagle Bend to Eden Prairie. Check out all that Star Bank has to offer at starbank.net.
And finally, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources.
The Minnesota DNR, Minnesota's wildlife management areas, are a vast array of lands across all of Minnesota. These 1,444, they're going to call them WMAs, Minnesota's wildlife management areas, are valued for wildlife and Minnesotans' outdoor recreation opportunities. They maintain hunter walking trails, they plant food plots for wildlife, and develop acres and acres of prairie and grasslands. To find out more, visit Minnesota Wildlife Management Area. Go to www.mndnr.gov/WMAS.
Okay, Eric Moen is my guest today, and we're both in comfy chairs hanging out, talking about Eric's little side business, the Midwest Outer Realm Followers. He is a ghost hunter of sorts when he is not working as a professional jeweler and gem cutter. Eric, you just got back from out west, correct?
Yes, we did. We got back yesterday, as a matter of fact.
All right, so was this a vacation? Was this a work trip? Was this a hunt? What was it?
As is the case when Amy and I go anywhere, it's always a combination of all of the above.
Okay.
We went out there to the work part of it was to gather sapphires. We bought a large parcel of gravel to go through and look for sapphires, but that was the business part. What we did in the off time, which was a considerable amount of time, we always take extra days to explore. We wanted to check out a ghost town or two. And we asked the locals, and they said, sure enough, we've got ghost towns in the area, so we found one called Comet. C-O-M-E-T, in the mountains. And it was a legitimate ghost town. It wasn't preserved. It was a four-wheel drive only road to get up there, and we've got a Toyota Highlander, so it's kind of built for the four-wheel drive, and it is four-wheel drive, and we felt confident going up this. Even still, it was sketchy as all get out. We come up there, and it's about a 10-mile jaunt up through the mountains, and we find the village. Sure enough, the plant was still there, and there was a number, probably 8 to 10 dilapidated old buildings, and we're taking pictures, and we decided to go up the washboard road a little bit further, and it was getting really bad. We come up to the top of the mountain, basically, and there was this old Winnebago, like a 1975 Winnebago. We thought someone had abandoned it. And the road was rather rutted, and so we were about, I don't know, I suppose 10 yards in front of this Winnebago. And mind you, there's no guardrails on these roads either. And it was precariously perched there, and I get out of the car, and out steps this old man. He comes out from behind the Winnebago, and he directs me, yeah, you can make it. So we come up there, and I go, whew, we made it. I go, thank you. And he goes, yeah, I'm a logging road engineer. I design a lot of these roads. And I said, well, yeah, you're an awfully brave man. I don't really see how you made it up here. Where's your car? And he goes, that's it. It was a 1975 Winnebago. I started to laugh. And then out pops the passenger side, his wife. Well, now this guy looks like Pecos Bill. I mean, he does look the part of a minor 49er. Looks like he came right out of the stream with a pan in his hand. He dusty jeans, gnarly old beard. He was probably 75 years old, 80. And literally the lines in his face were as deep as the ruts in the road that we traversed to get up there. So we started talking. Very friendly guy. He's telling me all about this mining town is. About I don't know what you call the compiling plant or the compactor or whatever the main thing is and how it worked and the lore of all the other old towns around there. And it sounded kind of strange because he knew a lot about it as if it was firsthand information. So the day was drawing close, and the shadows were falling beyond the mountains. It was time to head back down. We bid our farewells, and I said, you're going to make it, aren't you? He goes, yeah, you guys just go ahead and we'll follow you down. By the way, I don't know where he came from. I didn't see a turnaround spot per se. We did turn around, but he had been up the road a little bit further. I don't see how he came down. He said there's another ghost town across the mountain that he came from. Although I don't know how he did in a Winnebago, let alone we couldn't have done it in our car. So we're going back down the mountain. And as I'm looking in the rearview mirror, people may have guessed how this story is going to go. Are you familiar with High Plains Drifter, the final scene where Clint Eastwood just kind of fades away in the heat?
Absolutely, very iconic.
Well, that's kind of what happened with this guy and his wife. All of a sudden, the van wasn't there, and completely gone. I don't know. I don't know. It was a very curious story. Was he a ghost? I would say yes. I'm the storyteller, so I would say yes. But could he have fallen off the cliff? I don't think so. I'd hope not. I didn't hear
You'd
it
have heard about it by now.
Yeah, we'd heard it. So who knows? Maybe we just got too far ahead. But it was very curious. I'd like to think he was a ghost. He was a very friendly one at that. So that's kind of the way I look at the paranormal. It's not all exorcists or demons jumping out of coffins. It can be just about anything.
All right, let me play devil's advocate. Sure. This is coming because somebody or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 is listening to this going, this guy's nuts. He's full of it.
All right.
How do you respond to people that question what you're doing?
I have fun, Bill, and I'm not out to evangelize anyone. If they believe it, they believe it. If they don't, they don't. I don't get too upset about it. It is remarkable, to say the least, to hear this. I don't know if I would believe it, to be honest with you. But the deal is I'm so confident in myself, and I've been doing this long enough that either you have an open mind for this type of stuff, or you really don't, and I'm not going to get upset if people don't believe me, because it's really no skin off my teeth. It might be a way of insulating them from things that they perhaps may not be able to handle. I don't know. But it's not my job to convince people. I fancy myself a storyteller and also a paranormal investigator. But what I do say emphatically is true. I don't lie. I've been known to be one of the most honest people around, and it's just lying doesn't do anyone any good. It just gets my reputation in a big bag of hurt, and I don't want to be in a big bag of hurt. So that's it. I mean, I have fun, and that's about all.
All right, it's time for you to put on your therapy hat. You're going to be my therapist. Here's why.
Okay.
I suspect you have heard about the Calumet Inn down in Pipestone, Minnesota.
Oh, yes.
So I am headed down to shoot a pheasant hunt in a few weeks down around Pipestone, and we'll be staying overnight in the Calumet. And I keep hearing stories. What do you know?
I know that another author has been doing a lot of research in that, Adrian Lee. He's kind of the resident expert on the Calumet. I've heard I'm not familiar with any one particular story, but I've heard a lot of events happening there of the paranormal, ilk. So keep your eyes open. Don't worry too much about being possessed, because I haven't heard of anyone being possessed there. I think you're going to be fine.
The story goes, and this is a big old stone building that's been around for a long time. It was built out of the local rock, as I understand it. So it's almost like the front of the building almost looks like, big flagstone type rocks. But there was a fire in 1944 on Valentine's Day night. And people died in that fire in the hotel. And people now talk about things happening in that hotel. In fact, they have a guest registry down at the front desk that is apparently like 3 or 4 inches thick, where guests can write down stories of what they experienced.
Sure.
There are a lot of people who go to that place who experience different things.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the guy who burned up in the fire? Is it something else? Is it just a cold water pipe knocking at night? I mean,
Well, given the history, I would not. It could be all of it, but I don't doubt it's haunted, especially with that type of history. There's a couple different thoughts on hauntings. There is the thought of residual haunting. There's the thought of intellectual haunting. Residual hauntings are like a tape that's being played over and over and over again. It's not intelligent. It's like a recorded fabric of time that loops, and it periodically pops up and replays itself, and we experience it. The intellectual hauntings are ones that they listen to us and we can interact with. They can be malevolent, they can be benevolent, but they are intelligent. They sometimes may have a message for us. They may just be hanging out and they enjoyed their time in life on Earth at that place and they still hang out. If I've got a moment, I've got my own fire story I could relay if you're interested in hearing that.
absolutely. We are around Halloween, and I want to hear the most disturbing, uneasy stories you've got.
Okay, this one's actually kind of sad, and I'm going to try to keep it together as I relate this to you, Bill. The old Hollis Inn is in Iowa, north by Marengo. I believe it's in Marengo, Iowa. It's no longer being able to be investigated, but it was a Doc Hollis. He was a doctor, and I believe he had a child. I believe in 1934 or something in the 1930s, there was a major fire in the basement, and the boy actually passed away in the fire. We get to that Hollis Inn back, I don't know, a few years back in the early spring, and we get in there. It's 3 o'clock. The sun's out. We walk in the front door, and immediately there's a staircase going upstairs, and we've heard child footsteps running up the stairs. Bill, I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't like, did you hear that? Me? Oh, yeah. No, it was like, someone just ran up the stairs. Who are they? They're not supposed to be in here. We went up to look, and there was no one there. So the whole night was creepy. I mean, there's certain locations that make the hair on the arm stand in the back of the neck. This was an all-nighter of the hair being raised. We did an EVP like I talked about earlier, where you take a recording and you listen for after sounds after you've been there. we got a lot of EVP, electronic voice phenomena, voices and so forth. But when I was down in the basement, where the fire had occurred and right in the location where the little boy had died, I got the loudest, clearest child's laughter of any. There was we call it type class A EVP. It was so clear. It wasn't like, was that laughter? No, it was a little boy's laughter, and it was rather chilling. I would hope that was residual. I hope that child is no longer stuck there, or however way you want to put it. Like I said, I'm no expert. But on another, I got one other story too, but that was in Iowa. And that actually kind of disturbed me to hear the little boy's laughter where he had gotten burned up.
I'm sure.
But now the second most disturbing story was down in Chaska in the river bottom of the Minnesota River. It was an 1870s homestead built in 1870 or thereabouts, and it was right around the time of I believe the Minnesota-Dakota Wars. And this was an original house that the U of M had at the time owned, and they were doing archaeological digging at. They since tore it down. I believe they tore it down a year ago. But it was a very old brick house, and it was a very creepy old house because the basement it had wooden steps going down, and it was, the rough-hewn stone for a basement, such as my basement in my home from the 1800s. And there was a lock on the door. But it was on the outside of the door. It's locking whoever would go down in. And it was, that in itself was disturbing. But the lore of the house was that it was a family of, I believe, 5 people. And the Indians had come through during that warlike period, the trouble with the settlers and the Indians. And they had all been killed. They'd all been killed in the house. The white family had been killed in the house. I didn't like that place from get-go. I mean, it just was not a comfortable feeling to be there. Nothing really happened, to us while we were there, but I replayed, again, another EVP. I was coming up the stairs from the basement with my voice recorder on. I get home and I replay what I had recorded, and there was like a 13-year-old boy screaming, "Let me out of here!" Again, it was Class A where you could understand each and every word and every syllable. I've got that recorded on YouTube right now. It was the most chilling thing I've ever experienced. Thank God I didn't hear it while I was there. I would have jumped out of my skin. But a lot of this is the aftermath of going through the investigation. I could feel it. While I was there, I could feel the creepiness, the heaviness, the terror. I mean, let's just say what it was. I felt that person's terror. And then coming back home, it was realized after I got that EVP of that adolescent boy screaming, "Let me out of here." So that was not too far from the Twin Cities. I mean, it was just down, I believe, Highway 169 or in that area by the river.
All right. If people want to hear some of this stuff, you said you've got some stuff up on YouTube. Where do they find it?
I believe it's Eric Moen 382. Yeah, I believe that's my name. I haven't dealt with it for a while because I just didn't want to deal with, some of the comments that I get on some of this stuff. I just kind of let it kind of go by the wayside. But Eric Moen 382, I think, is my channel, my YouTube channel. And I've got probably a couple hours of recordings and videos of when we were doing it more frequently. But now it's basically just Amy and I doing it, and we go out and do a few investigations now and then, but we just kind of like to keep to ourselves and kind of keep it more, I guess, less involved now that we both are working full time and I'm doing the full time jewelry thing. But we always love the paranormal no matter how we encounter it.
So what happens if somebody's listening and they say, oh my gosh, I've got a story, I need to talk to Eric?
Well, they can get a hold of me via email, if I may give my email address.
Go for it.
It's Eric, ERIC _Moen, MOEN, at MSN.com. That's Eric _Moen at MSN.com.
Do you
Or they
promise? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, they can reach me through Facebook too, Eric J. Moen. I mean, I'm the only Eric J. Moen there is, so they could just reach me through Facebook too.
And I was going to ask you, you have to promise that if you get a interesting story or response, you will let me know about it, right?
Oh, Bill, you're going to be the first one to hear about it.
All right. There you go. Eric, so good to catch up, and always fun to listen to the stories and the adventures. You get all over the place.
We do try. The next major trip is going to be to Ireland as soon as we can swing it. When this COVID stuff is done, we really want to get over to Ireland, or my dream place, you guessed it, Transylvania.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I'll read the cliff notes after that trip.
All right.
You've been listening to Eric Moen, operator of Midwest Out Around Followers, a ghost hunter, and just an all-around good guy. Eric, thanks for the time today.
Thank you, Bill.
We appreciate everyone for listening to the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories, and this curious Halloween sort of episode. You know, the show just doesn't happen by itself. We've got great partners who help us get this podcast out every week. First off, Minnesota Bound, the stories behind the stories, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems. Clean, safe, great tasting water. Also, our good friends at the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources and North Dakota. Start planning your fall hunt in North Dakota at legendarynd.com. And finally, our good friends at Star Bank, the bank we use at minnesotabound.com. Hey, thanks for listening. Let me know if you have a scary story to share. Otherwise, I hope you'll join us for the next episode of Minnesota Bound, the stories behind the stories. So long.